I'm Darian Atkins, Community and Public Relations Director for Louisiana Delta Community College. And today, you and I both have the privilege of sitting down with Dr. Alvina Thomas. And we're going to learn all about her journey, not just with LDCC, but her journey in life in honor of National Women's History Month.
Oh,
Welcome, Dr. Thomas.
Thank you so much. I am just honored to have this opportunity to talk about Alvina Thomas.
Oh, well,
Yes.
look, the honor is ours because we have the privilege of being able to hear all about you, what helped shape you as you grew from a child to your space here right now,
Yes.
sitting as Dr. Alvina Thomas. So I know that that's a journey, and I know a lot can
Yes.
happen and probably has happened through that time.
Mhm.
So I guess let's start kind of at the beginning so our viewers can get a sense of knowing who you are outside of or in addition to your role here at LDCC, which we will touch on a little bit later.
Okay, yes. Well, I was reared by my grandmother. My grandmother was born in 1900.
Wow.
And so I always say that I'm like a generation back,
Yeah.
because she really poured a lot into my sister and to me as well. So I am a first generation college student, a college graduate
Oh.
with my bachelor's degree in finance and commercial banking. And
Really? I would not have
yes,
guessed that.
yes, yes. I
Wow.
actually thought I wanted to just really work in banking, and I did for a moment. I did work in banking for a moment.
Okay.
And then I have a master's in counseling,
I did not
professional
know that either.
counseling.
How did I not know this?
Yes.
Wow.
And so both those degrees, I think, really helped my higher education journey. And I have my terminal degree, a doctorate in higher education leadership from LSUS Shreveport. And I'm very proud of that.
Wow. And you think you know a person. I did not know you had a banking background nor a counseling background.
So for a few years, maybe 3 to 5 years, I worked in banking,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked in cosmetics too. So you probably can tell about the cosmetics. I love makeup.
And me and you both.
Yes, yes. But I worked in banking over in West Monroe. It
Mhm.
was a savings and loans, and it eventually was taken over by Regions Bank.
Okay. Okay.
So I worked as a teller, and then I moved on up and worked with housing loans, mortgage loans, and things like that. But yes, that's part of my background that I think really helped to shape me as I moved into higher education, and to start that journey as a financial aid counselor at the University of Louisiana, Monroe. It was ULM at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So when you said you were reared by your grandmother, and I can relate to that because I was too.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is probably the most valuable thing you learned from her example that has aided you through life?
Helping others. She was so adamant about helping others. So, Darian, on Sundays, we would cook all this food. This is something that really stayed with me, and I think what shaped me and molded me in knowing that it is important to help others. We would cook all this food because she loved to cook, and I'd love to cook too now. But then we would end up taking plates to everybody in the community.
Wow.
And I would say to her, Mama, we cook all this food and then we give it away.
Yeah.
And she said, we supposed to help people.
Wow.
People help us, and we're supposed to help people.
Wow, she lived that.
Mhm.
She lived that for you. That's awesome. And so you said you worked in banking.
Yes.
So when did the idea of working at a college begin to appeal to you? What was the draw?
Well, it was forced upon me because as I said, I worked at a bank in West Monroe. At one point, the bank was taken over, and we had an opportunity, those who worked with the bank, to either stay in Monroe. If you stayed in Monroe, you would not have a job. Well, so you either had to transfer to, it was two places. One was Atlanta, Georgia, and then there was another place you could transfer up north. And I did not want to go either place. So I had a friend, my side job was working at Wellness Department Store in the cosmetics. And I had a friend there who talked to me about working in higher education.
Okay.
She's deceased now, but she talked to me about it, and she said, I believe you would love to work in higher education. And she said, there's a position open as a financial aid counselor.
Wow.
And she said, I'm going to bring your name up to the director, who was Dr. Charles McDonald.
Okay. Oh,
Yes.
wow, Dr. McDonald.
Dr. McDonald. And he hired me as a financial aid counselor, and he mentored me in financial aid, and took me to different conferences, and I grew to love financial aid. I grew to love helping students, because I saw in students things that I saw in myself when I was an undergraduate, and I was afraid to even walk into the financial aid office, and I did not want students to be that way.
It's a different experience when you're the first one in your family to walk that path, and I guess that may be the case with anything, but I identify with that because, you know, my mom didn't go to college, and neither did my dad. And just walking through doing the FAFSA was, I mean, that was scary. And I had to figure it out, though. I had to figure it out because if I was going to go, I didn't have a choice but to figure it out, because she couldn't help me that much. And I'm with you, walking onto the campus. It was scary, because I wondered, am I really going to be able to do this? Am I going to fail? You know, do I really have what it takes? Because this isn't like high school. What were your challenges as, I grew up in the North, and you know, you talk to some people there, it's not that much different in the area of race relations. But what was it like for you? What struggles did you have as a young Black person walking onto a college campus, not having the benefit of this being just the next step that you take in your family, and that experience and support from that perspective in your background?
Well, I will say I had in high school a guidance counselor who was just awesome. And as we were saying, my grandmother could not help me, so my guidance counselor helped me in so many ways, and helped me to get a scholarship, helped me, you know, to just transition, talk to me about a major. You know, guidance counselors are so important in helping students. So when I made it to, we would say ULM, when I made it there, I was a little afraid, you know, walking on the campus, coming from a very, very small town. But I was also thinking that, you know, when I get here, I would find people like Miss Gardner. You know, I would find people like her. I just expected that. Because that's what I got, you know, from a very small high school, you know. I did find people like that. I did find people like that. And I was so glad that I selected that college. I went to several colleges. I went to Grambling, looking at Grambling, went to Louisiana Tech, went to Northwestern. I had that opportunity to visit all these different colleges, but I ended up at ULM, and I had a very good experience. I really did. Even with my instructors pushing me to do better, you know, to say, you are not doing your best, and we know you're not doing your best. You know, and I'm just thank you for letting me go back to those days because I really didn't have a lot of problems other than one of my finance classes in my accounting class, but then I had, those instructors who helped me.
Yeah.
And what was ironic to me, because I was a little bit timid,
Mm-hmm.
they came to me.
Wow.
You're not doing well.
Yeah,
You're not.
that
And
is awesome.
Delta reminds me of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when we see our students struggling, and we need to have relationships with them if we can,
Mm-hmm.
then go to them and say, it doesn't look like you're doing well. What can we do to help you?
Mm-hmm.
You know. So
Yeah, that means a lot.
it means a lot.
It helps them to feel seen
Mm-hmm.
and like they're not alone because the journey is scary. I've talked with several non-traditional students, and when I say non-traditional, I mean that they are older students coming back, maybe following a second career or
Right.
a first, their first time ever coming to college.
Mm-hmm.
And the one common theme, regardless of their background, they could have a degree in something else, but it had been a while since they were on campus.
Mm-hmm.
The one consistent theme was that when they hit that parking lot, they felt like it's a little intimidating walking through those doors.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so it is important for not just the people who deal directly with those students to be mindful of that and to reach out to them, but for all of us, because I think a lot of times we underestimate even what a simple hello when you're walking past them in the hall can mean to their experience. And so it sounds like, from your experiences at ULM, that they really provided a village for you.
And I will say this, growing up in in the small town, Haynesville, Louisiana, very, very small. But I can remember walking because we didn't have a vehicle, so we walked. And we walked to town, and one day we were in a store, and the gentleman said to my grandmother, he called her Hattie,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm serious, I think about this. She called him Mr. whatever his name was, and I can't remember his entire name, but I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And I questioned my grandmother about that. It was during a period with the race relations was very high because we had just integrated our schools.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and so why is it that he can call you Hattie, but you have to call him Mr.
Mister, put a handle on that,
Right.
yeah.
And my grandmother said, you have to love everybody. And she said, you will see this one day, that sometimes it just doesn't matter, who
Yeah.
you are. And she said, I want you to know who you are. And that's why I want you to get an education. I didn't get one, but I
Yeah.
want you to have one.
Yeah.
And they will call you something other than by your first name.
And she's right.
Mm-hmm.
What she said
Mm-hmm.
is correct. Because now
Mm-hmm.
we put a handle on yours, and it is Dr. Thomas.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, she was right about that. Education. I think the older generations prized education seemingly a lot more than the latter generations. I think because we weren't deprived of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just like voting, we weren't deprived of it. And so I think a lot of times that these generations don't have the appreciation
Mm-hmm.
for that privilege and recognize it as a privilege the way that our grandparents did.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you went to which college was it? That what Dr. McDonald was at Grambling?
No, it was at ULM.
It was at
Northeast
you
Louisiana.
worked at ULM?
Yes,
As
Northeast,
in the financial aid
in the
department?
financial aid office.
Well, Kit out.
Yes, in the financial aid office.
Okay.
Yes. Hmm.
So you got a chance to go back and work for the village that helped you.
Yes, and I was very excited to do that when he hired me,
Oh wow.
and knew nothing about the financial aid profession. But as I said, he was a mentor to me and sent me to all kinds of trainings, and I just learned to appreciate the opportunity that we have with financial aid because
Mhm.
many students don't have the money
Right.
to pay for college. I did not. I
Yeah.
didn't have the money to pay for college.
Yeah.
And so without financial aid, I would not have been able to go.
Yeah. I'm right there with you for sure. Same.
Hmm.
Same. So talk to me a little bit about how you connected with LDCC.
Okay.
How did your journey bring you here?
Well, when I tell the story to some people, I talk about the fact that I've worked at a PWI, predominantly white institution,
Mhm.
an HBC, historically black college university, and that's Grambling State University. I worked there for 8 years.
Okay.
And when I worked there, my supervisor was Mr. Barry Delcom.
Oh, I remember Barry.
Yes, yes. And he was at ULM as well,
Mhm.
but I directly reported to Mr. Delcom when I worked at Grambling.
Okay.
And so he contacted me and said, we are looking for someone to start our financial aid programs here at Delta Community College.
Mhm.
And I thought about you, and I was wondering, would you like to come and look at us and maybe apply for the position that we had available, which was the Dean of Student Services?
Well, that totally makes sense because he was here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what year was that? Do you remember?
I started working here in 2006.
Okay, so that was
Yes.
5-ish years
Mm-hmm.
after we opened here for the
Mm-hmm.
first
Yes.
semester.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And so that's how you made it
That's
here.
how I made it here, and I had a list of things to do, but the main thing was to apply for the federal programs and make sure Delta had federal programs. And it was a challenge for me that I took very seriously because again, how I feel about financial aid, I've had so many opportunities with financial aid. I've served on the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators.
Okay.
And there I was able to see a deeper picture and the philosophy about financial aid and how it's not just you think you're here in your own environment in Louisiana, but when you look at the country
Yeah.
and how financial aid helps students, and I just felt like if this is a great opportunity for me to help lots of students if I'm able to bring federal financial aid to this institution.
For sure, because I mean, that's some people's only way of being
Mm-hmm.
able to attend college. I remember, when I set out a year after high school before I applied
Mm-hmm.
to college, and then I went one semester part
Mm-hmm.
time. I was working full time, and then I got married the next semester and
Okay.
moved. And after I got married and moved, and I started having kids right away, I didn't get a chance to go back to college
Mm-hmm.
until a few years later.
Mm-hmm.
But when I did, my husband was working. I wasn't working, but we didn't meet the eligibility standards for me to be able to get Pell Grant. I had to
Mm-hmm.
apply for a loan,
Mm-hmm.
and if I didn't have that option, I could not have gone back to school.
Yes.
And so, and if Pell wasn't in place for me before I got married,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have been able to go to school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it means a lot to a lot of people to have that opportunity um, financially to have the means to complete their education.
It can literally break cycles of poverty
Yes, absolutely.
because
Yes.
if I had
Mm-hmm.
not been able to go to college to get my degree,
Mm-hmm.
it's very strong chances that my children would not have it either.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So it's a cycle, so we start that cycle within our families, and that's so important.
Yes,
Yes.
it makes the difference.
Makes a difference.
And so you were heading up an area that was so critical. I mean, literally a do or die
Mm-hmm. Yes.
for a lot of students.
And I realized that my position was more than just financial aid, but the financial aid piece was such a big picture at that time. We did not, also needed a code of student conduct, because we have to have a way to adjudicate issues and keep our students safe in that manner as well, because this is a community. This is our community, and we have to have standards for our students to make sure that we have issues, we can address those issues very quickly,
Yeah.
and in a fashion that is of a higher education fashion. So it was like several different things that I had to do, but it was a challenge for me, and I love a challenge. Yes.
Well, you managed those challenges well, because today, all these number of years later, that was 2005, and we're in 2024, and we've been
Yes.
awarding Pell Grants and loans, for a little while now.
Mhm.
So after you served as director of financial aid, did you become dean after that? Dean of
I came
students?
here as dean of students.
Okay.
And financial aid director.
Okay, so those were
Yeah,
combined
They were
roles.
combined. Yes.
Okay. So, from your experiences in working in both a university setting and a community college setting, what stands out as far as supports that students need in order to be successful? What stands out to you? What are your thoughts on student support?
First of all, I believe very strongly that we need people to help students, because sometimes we have a lack of employees, and there is an expectation to do the written work, the as well as the counseling work, and sometimes it's not good when we cannot actually talk to students and see what their needs are.
Yeah.
And being able to identify within the community resources. If we don't have those resources here at the institution, what can we do within our communities? Who can we reach out and touch that can help us help our students? And so working at that's one of the differences that I see at our community colleges, that we're better at it now. But I would say at least 10 to 15 years ago, we weren't, to me, as good as we are right now.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, COVID taught us a lot of things.
Yes, it did.
And it brought about ways that we, handle our students and all of that, but it also brought about ways that we could provide resources to our students. And students walk in sometimes to us without advisement from parents, not knowing, what it is I want to do. So that's where your career services, that's a big piece, I think, that career exploration piece to help them. We call those wraparound services.
Right.
Yeah, those
Right.
wraparound services, which includes counseling services. For many students and faculty and staff and people as well wouldn't seek counseling, but now it's very popular. Go see a counselor to help
Right.
you move over whatever it is that you're going through. So counseling services, along with career services and financial aid, library services, all of these wraparound services, student engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah, those organizations and clubs that students join is we have research now that talks to us specifically about how that's so important, that students can reach out and touch other students, and they help each other along the way.
Well, I know that you are leading with excellence in that arena because um, the students who connect with you through those clubs speak so highly of you
Okay.
and your leadership.
Mhm.
And so, and I know a large part of that is mentorship.
Mhm.
How much does mentorship play in the
Yeah.
lives of employees in
Mhm.
a college setting or a community college
Mhm.
setting?
Wow, that's it's very important. It's very important because you may know something that I don't know, but if I begin to talk with you and we talk to each other, we can learn from each other. And that I say all the time with higher education institutions, and let's say Delta Community College, everything here is about learning. That's our focus. And so we can't take anything for granted, that we can't learn from each other. We all bring such valuable um, assets to the institution. We all have different uh, lives that we've led, and we can speak into each other. So if we do that to each other, we can also help students. And that's the reason also that peer-to-peer um, mentoring is
Yes.
so important for our students, because it's something that as a student could see that I missed, but the student could point it out, and a student can talk to another student. And the same holds true for faculty and staff. Sometimes we could just start talking to each other, and we
Yeah.
find out how much we are alike,
Yeah.
and how much we've experienced the things that are alike, and then how we can help each other when we're going through rough times.
I definitely agree with that. And another thing that another point that you made that you didn't specifically speak is the importance of diversity in these type of settings, because there are different people who come from all different walks of life. And when we have diverse representation in the college, you know, we have resources available to help one another and to help our students to be able to relate. You know, me being a young mother,
Yes.
going back to college, I had very different challenges than the typical coming right out of high school college student. Um, and so having people in my circle who could identify with the struggles of if the daycare was closed that day, but I still had classes, you know, and them helping me, to navigate that scene. And, my husband was traveling, so it wasn't like that was backup there,
Yes.
or even coming from a family who did not have college experience, and the
Yes.
feelings of inferiority and intimidation about coming onto a campus, and someone identifying with that to help me through. There are so many ways of being diverse other than race, and we get locked into that conversation of looking at it only through a race lens. But I moved from Indiana to here. You know, my background was a city girl growing up. It wasn't rural. I couldn't, I didn't understand that life, and probably, people from a rural setting didn't understand my upbringing, and the things that contributed to my mindset. So all of that to say, diversity is so needed to be able to effectively mentor one another and mentor our students.
Yes. And you say which is very true, that when we think of diversity, a lot of times we think of color, but diversity in so many different ways. When you think about students who need accommodations,
Yes.
those are diverse students, and we did not have counseling and disability services when I came to this space. And
Wow, we did not.
we did not have career services. We did not have counseling and disability services. So
Wow.
under, my leadership, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
say
just
it,
say it. I mean,
know.
own that. I mean, these are your accomplishments. Own
Yes.
them.
So, matter of fact, our first counselor, Dr. Ruth Osborne, passed away.
She did.
And I went to her funeral, and I spoke there because I said I could not come here
Oh my goodness.
to let her family know what an asset she was to Louisiana Delta Community
Wow.
College.
Yes. I did not know that.
Yes.
Wow.
And so we did not have career services, and we were able to, use Perkins funding to
Mhm.
create a position for career services. And so that person has retired as well and gone on, and we have other people in those positions now.
Mhm.
But we were truly a college that were just on the verge. We were just right there. So many wonderful things we could do, but we needed help in bringing those different areas to our college.
Those wraparound services.
Those
that you
wraparound
spoke
services,
about.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, how I did not. Yeah, you know what? I should have known that I was here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess just over time you forget,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
Yes.
yeah, wow, and and that's a lot of the reason why I really wanted to sit down and do this, because I was there for a lot of those years
Mhm.
that you were there.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
you came in 2005. I came 5 years later
Mm-hmm.
in 2010,
Mm-hmm.
and we have so many, far more people who have not shared their journey with us
Mm-hmm.
than we do who's sharing that journey with us now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's good for people to know.
Mm-hmm.
You've contributed a lot to LDCC,
Mm-hmm.
and your legacy will be that you made a way for students.
So students, to me, has been my life, and I again contribute this to my grandmother. It started there, but just the fact to know that having an education was beneficial to me. I think students need to have an education.
For sure.
And
For sure.
and I say to students all the time when they come here, and we offer so much to students. So you can, if you want a technical degree, we have that for you. We have workforce, and then we have those general education courses. So I think we have a little bit of it all. We have adult education,
Mhm.
and that was really so intriguing to me because at first we didn't have all that. We merged with other campuses. We're part of that merger, and that was really a big step for us to do that. And I was told about that when I was hired, that we're not going to always be like this. We're going to merge with other institutions. So we're hiring you to let you know that, you're going to be working with other campuses as well.
I found out a month after I was on the job that we were merging that summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is interesting, and we have really grown over that time.
Yes,
I mean,
we
were
have.
both on the campus of ULM
Mm-hmm.
at LDCC,
Mm-hmm.
and we both came together to this building,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and that was such an exciting time.
Yes.
We finally had our own home, and I didn't have to wait for it as long as you did.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was exciting
was
coming
very
over
exciting,
and
yes.
watching the development of the building,
Yes.
and when it was getting close for us to actually be able to move in, that was
Mhm.
fun. And planning the ribbon cutting and the open house, oh boy, that was a ton of fun.
Mhm.
So besides LDCC, I know a lot of your time is spent with your sorority.
Yes, yes. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Proud,
Yes,
AKA.
yes, yes.
So you pledged when you were at ULM?
No, I just didn't think my family could afford that.
Okay.
And so that was one of the things I wanted to do, one day.
Mm-hmm.
And the opportunity came, and as a graduate. And I want,
Wow.
students to know that sometimes, as an undergraduate, maybe that's not the time for you to do it, because it's a lot of work. It's like another job, to be honest
Oh
with
my
you.
goodness.
When it's all about community service. It's all about it's sisterhood and service.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the sisterhood in order to serve, because you're going to do so much serving.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be able to serve together and do things well.
Yeah.
So, as an undergraduate, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The programs do not change.
Mm-hmm.
The requirements do not change.
Mm-hmm.
But you just have a little bit more fun with it.
Yeah.
As an undergraduate.
Yeah.
So I just did not think that, as far as paying the fees and all of that my family could afford that.
Yeah.
It was just wonderful for me to be able to go to college.
I'm telling you, yes, yes. I didn't pledge in college either. Um, well, mainly because I was that non-traditional student. I had 3 babies at home.
Yes,
And a husband that I was going to class strictly and coming back home. There wasn't a lot of connecting with college in that capacity. I was just at a different, place in my life where, that ship had kind of sailed. Yeah, I was
Yes.
washing bottles and changing diapers. But you are so heavily involved with your sorority, and I see you all doing so many things in the community. I wonder, when do you sleep? And besides that, I know I get emails from you when I'm up, and I get up early. I get emails or texts from you early in the morning, so I know that you're up early. I don't know what time you go to bed, but I know you're up early. But how do you find time to do it all?
Well, you have to pace yourself for sure, because you have your work to do. I call it your real job work to do. And then with Alpha Kappa Alpha, it's another job in itself. And I was the president 2010, 2011. And to be honest with you, I just don't know how I do it. I know that it gets done.
I know one year you chaired the American Heart Association
Go Red for Women.
Go Red for Women.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. That was kind of back around in that time frame too.
Yes.
Like I said, you do a lot.
And these are my passions, because I will say this, though. I'm going to bring this up. I was serving on committees with Go Red for Women. And then I received a call that asked me, what do you think about serving as the chair? Because we want to show more diversity. And I said, I am not from the medical side. You don't have to be from the medical realm. You served, you at all the activities, and you help us. And so I took on the responsibility of being the chairman that year, and it was a great experience. And to get the word out, again, another learning experience for our people to know about high blood pressure, heart disease, really the right way to eat, and those kind of things. And so that was my message that year. I learned a lot, and I'm hoping that I was able to share a lot with the community, with the Black community, about the American Heart Association and the good parts that it played for helping people.
Now, what Yeah, I remember your journey there. I remember taking y'all's pictures of group.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was neat, and I was so proud of you.
Mhm.
Um, what would you say to our African American women, and especially young girls, who feel that it's too hard or you're boxed out of being in various places in society because
Mhm.
you've been some places, so it's
Mhm.
possible. I mean,
It's
I've
possible.
you know I've seen you
Mhm.
there. So, but as African American people, we grow up hearing that possibilities are limited. You know, there's no place for you in these spaces because of your skin tone.
Mhm.
What would you say to our viewers watching, whether it is, a woman or a girl?
Mhm. I will say what helped me. Okay. Never would I have thought, coming from the small town that I came from, that I would be invited to different places. But I think it's all the way that we carry ourselves and the fact that we are willing to listen to other people, listen what they have to say. I'm not saying you don't share your point of view, but I believe I'm a great listener,
Mm-hmm.
and I do listen. And from that listening, then I offer suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I think we could do such and such.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, I've been moved up and up and up because I have worked hard. I've offered suggestions, and I've
Mm-hmm.
helped carry through what I offer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just believe in working hard. I believe in that you can get further by working hard, and I'm not sure if everybody believes like that.
And you're also quick to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think you learn more that way, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's something that the majority of people have to practice. I know for me, I have to practice that,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to be mindful. Um, and what helps is when I'm so tempted to speak to make a point, if I can within myself pull it back and ask a question
Mm-hmm.
instead,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it puts me in learning mode, and then plus it gives me an opportunity to be able to cross-examine and analyze what my own thoughts and feelings were in that moment before I speak them out, because once you speak them out, you
You
can't
cannot
walk
take
it
it
back.
back. Yes.
You can't walk it back.
Yes, you cannot.
And
Mm-hmm.
we're so conditioned to self gratification
Mm-hmm.
that we do have to be so intentional about discipline,
Mm-hmm.
and especially self discipline. So, I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
something that it sounds like that you've practiced, and it served you well to be
Mm-hmm.
able to do that.
I think also my counseling degree, I enjoyed that program
Wow.
at Northeast ULM. I enjoyed
Mhm.
that program, and I learned a lot from that program. I love learning, and I think
Mhm.
learning is so important. And I think the more you know, the more it helps you to with your decision making.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. What what haven't you done that's still on your bucket list to do? You've obtained your PhD. So
Mm-hmm.
what's next? What's left?
Well, I would love to teach. I would love to
Why
teach.
haven't you?
Well, I've been so busy with ensuring that our students get what they need with these wraparound services.
Gotcha.
And I, but I have thought about it. When I pursued this degree, it was more so for my family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is, uh, you know, you can stop at a certain level and say, okay, I've done all that I can do. But I believe in just going as far as you possibly can go. And Mr. Delcom said this to me at one time, when I became president of the Louisiana Association of Financial Aid Administrators, he said, that's an awesome thing that you can become the president of something that you truly love, and you could guide it.
Yes.
And lead it the way you want to lead it and such. And so I kind of felt the same way about getting this degree until I've reached the top. I haven't achieved what my grandmother wanted me to do.
Wow.
So it was more of a personal
It's a personal mission.
for me. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, maybe I would like to teach, And so I'm probably going to pursue that in few years to come. Right now, I am serving as a caregiver
Mm-hmm.
of my 90-year-old dad.
What a privilege.
And I'm so, really excited. It's work, but just to know that I have the privilege of helping my dad.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that I have not asked that you would love to share?
Well, I don't think so. This has been wonderful because when you talk to me about it, I've had to think about it. Let me see, what have and I did. I typed it up. I just started thinking, and I still get up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, those are the best hours.
They really are.
Very quiet,
Mm-hmm.
and peaceful and serene, and you can just really think.
Yeah.
And so as I typed up, started with high school and just typed and typed and typed, I've done quite a bit. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize myself how
It's
much.
good to remember.
Yes,
And,
it's good to remember.
and besides being good to remember, it's good to celebrate.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's good to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us 360 back around to National Women's History Month. A time to celebrate the accomplishments of exceptional women. And that's what we've done today. Celebrate an exceptional woman. Dr. Alvina Thomas.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.